The worst moment of my life went viral before second period, and somehow the most dangerous guy at Westbrook Academy decided to save me. By lunchtime, the entire school had seen the video at least twice. Some people watched it with pity. Most watched it for entertainment. I knew this because every time I walked down the hallway, conversation stopped half a second too late, followed by whispers sharp enough to slice through skin. That's him. Oh my God, look. He actually cried. Amazing. 18 years old, honors student, editor of the yearbook committee, and now officially known as the guy who got rejected hard enough to become campus meme material. My phone buzzed again in my hoodie pocket. I didn't even need to look. Another notification. Another repost. Another clip of me standing outside the gym last night, stupid enough to confess feelings to Tyler Brennan, while someone secretly recorded the whole thing from behind a vending machine like they were filming a wildlife documentary called Pathetic Gay Disasters in Their Natural Habitat. I shoved my phone deeper into my pocket and kept my head down as I crossed the cafeteria. Usually, I like this place. Usually, the smell of fries and pizza and burned coffee felt comforting in a weird public school kind of way. Today it felt like a stadium packed with spectators waiting for me to trip and die. Noah, my best friend Lily, practically slid into the seat across from me holding chocolate milk and enough concern to qualify as a medical condition. Please tell me you haven't checked TikTok again. I checked once, I muttered. That's on you then. I dropped my forehead against the table. I'm transferring schools. You say that every semester. This time I mean it. A group of football players burst out laughing 2 tables away. I didn't have to look to know why. My stomach twisted anyway. The worst part wasn't Tyler rejecting me. Honestly, I could have survived that. It was the way he laughed afterward. Like I'd told a joke instead of confessing something real. Come on, Noah, he'd said while his friends snickered behind him. You seriously thought I'd date you? God, I wanted to evaporate. People are jerks, Lily said softly. It'll blow over. No, it won't. I stared at the untouched fries on my tray. This school feeds on humiliation like it's a varsity sport. You're being dramatic. I'm being accurate. Then the cafeteria went weirdly quiet. Not fully silent. Just enough for the air to shift. Chairs scraped. A few people muttered under their breath. Somebody near the vending machines whispered, "No way." Lily's eyes widened slightly. Oh no. I frowned. What? She looked over my shoulder. Don't panic. That sentence alone guaranteed panic. Slowly, I turned around. Jace Mercer stood 3 feet behind me, wearing a black hoodie, faded jeans, and the kind of expression that made teachers nervous during parent conferences. He was tall in an unfair way, broad shoulders filling out the doorway light behind him, dark hair messy like he'd run his hands through it a dozen times already. A silver ring flashed on one finger as he adjusted the strap of his backpack. The rumors about Jace changed depending on who you asked. Some people said he got suspended for fighting seniors during sophomore year. Others swore he spent weekends street racing outside town. There were girls who thought he was mysterious and boys who avoided eye contact entirely. Me? I'd never spoken more than 3 words to him in my life. Jace looked down at me for a long moment, unreadable. Then he pulled out the empty chair beside mine and sat down like he belonged there. The cafeteria completely froze. My pulse immediately forgot how to function. You look miserable, he said casually. I blinked. Excuse me. One corner of his mouth lifted slightly. Relax, Whitmore. I'm trying to help. By publicly identifying me as miserable. You already did that yourself in the video. Lily made a choking noise beside me. I stared at him, horrified and weirdly offended by how calm he looked discussing the social execution of my dignity. What do you want? I asked carefully. Jace leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning the room like he could feel everyone watching. Maybe he could. Simple, he said. You want people to stop laughing at you? I narrowed my eyes. Obviously. His gaze settled on mine. Again, steady and dangerous in a way that made my stomach flip for reasons I absolutely did not have time to unpack. Then he said, date me. For a full 5 seconds, I genuinely thought Jace Mercer was making fun of me. Which, honestly, would not have been surprising. Attractive people at Westbrook Academy treated humiliation like an extracurricular activity. I stared at him across the cafeteria table while my brain slowly disconnected from reality. Date you, I repeated carefully, like maybe hearing the words twice would magically make them less insane. Jace nodded once. Correct. Lily looked between us with the expression of someone witnessing a car accident in slow motion. I am either hallucinating, she whispered, or this is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me personally. I ignored her. Why would you want to fake date me? Jace shrugged one shoulder. Maybe I am bored. That is comforting. Or, he continued calmly, maybe I think people here are annoying. His eyes flicked toward the football table where Tyler sat pretending not to stare at us every 6 seconds. Especially him. My stomach twisted again. God. Even hearing Tyler mentioned made embarrassment crawl up my neck like heat. Jace noticed. Of course he did. He noticed everything. That was the unsettling part. Most people looked through me lately, either pitying me or laughing at me. Jace looked directly at me, sharp and focused, like he was trying to solve something. Here is what happens if you say yes, he said. People stop treating you like a joke because nobody at this school is dumb enough to mess with someone I am dating. Lily made another strangled sound into her chocolate milk. And what do you get out of it? I asked. Jace leaned back slightly, stretching one arm across the top of his chair. The silver rings on his fingers caught the cafeteria lights. People stop bothering me too. I frowned. People are scared of you. Exactly. It gets exhausting. Somehow that answer made him seem more dangerous instead of less. There was something weirdly lonely hidden underneath the sarcasm in his voice, something quick and quiet that disappeared before I could look at it too closely. Around us, the cafeteria buzzed louder by the second. Phones were already out. Someone near the vending machines was absolutely recording this conversation. Fantastic. My public downfall now had bonus content. This is a terrible idea, I muttered. Probably. Jace agreed immediately. Still works though. Tyler suddenly stood from his table, laughing loudly at something one of his friends said. His gaze slid toward me for half a second before he smirked. That stupid smirk. The one that said he knew exactly how badly he embarrassed me. Heat climbed my throat again. Before I could stop myself, I said, fine. Lily choked on air. Noah. Absolutely not. I whispered to her without taking my eyes off Jace. I am having a psychological break and I need everyone to support me through it. Jace's mouth twitched like he was fighting a smile. So that is a yes. Temporary yes, I corrected quickly. Fake yes. Sure. You cannot suddenly become weird and possessive. You say that like I already am not. I blinked. Lily covered her face with both hands. I cannot do this, she groaned. I feel like I accidentally walked into a streaming drama. Jace ignored her completely. Stand up. Why? Because if we are doing this, people need to believe it. Every survival instinct I had immediately activated. That sentence sounded threatening. Whitmore. His voice dropped lower, calmer somehow. Relax. Relax. Right. Easy thing to say when you were not sitting 2 feet away looking like every bad decision wrapped into one human being. Slowly, I pushed back my chair and stood. The cafeteria noise dimmed around us into this strange electric buzz. Jace stood too, taller up close than I realized. The black sleeves of his hoodie were pushed to his forearms, exposing faded bruises along one hand like he had punched something recently. He noticed me looking and casually tugged the sleeve back down. Then, before I could process what was happening, he stepped closer and slid one hand lightly against my waist. Not rough, not inappropriate, just steady, familiar, like he had done it 100 times before. My entire nervous system short-circuited. The cafeteria exploded. Into whispers. Oh my God, no way. Jace Mercer is dating Noah Whitmore? His hand stayed there for one impossible second longer than necessary. Then Jace leaned slightly toward my ear and murmured, Congratulations. My pulse stumbled helplessly. On what? One corner of his mouth lifted. Nobody is going to laugh at you anymore. By the end of the school day, half of Westbrook Academy thought I had secretly been dating Jace Mercer for months, and the other half thought I was moments away from being kidnapped into a life of crime. Honestly, neither explanation felt impossible anymore. My phone would not stop vibrating. Notifications flooded every app one owned. People who had ignored me for 3 straight years were suddenly desperate to know if I liked dangerous guys now. One sophomore literally asked for relationship advice while I was trying to get a granola bar out of the vending machine. I had become interesting overnight, which was horrifying because interesting people at Westbrook usually ended up emotionally destroyed. You know, Lily said as we walked toward the parking lot after last period, this might actually be the most iconic social recovery in school history. I do not want a social recovery, I groaned. I want to evaporate peacefully. Too late for that. You fake dated the human equivalent of a thunderstorm. As if summoned by dark magic, a black motorcycle rolled into the student parking lot 2 seconds later. Conversations instantly lowered around us. Heads turned. Of course they did. Jace pulled off his helmet with one hand, dark hair falling messily across his forehead while the engine rumbled beneath him like something alive. He wore the same black hoodie from lunch, sleeves shoved up again, silver rings flashing briefly under the afternoon sun. The entire scene looked annoyingly cinematic. That should be illegal, Lily muttered beside me. What should? Whatever that is. Jace spotted me near the curb and tilted his head once in silent greeting. My stomach betrayed me immediately. Incredible. We had been fake dating for approximately 4 hours, and my nervous system was already acting like a Victorian woman seeing a man's ankle. You are blushing, Lily whispered with delight. I hate you. Jace parked beside us and rested one boot against the pavement. You ready? He asked casually. I blinked. Ready for what? Your ride home. I have a car. Today you do not. Before I could argue, he handed me a second helmet. Around us, at least 12 people openly pretended not to stare. Jace, I hissed quietly. We said fake dating. Not public psychological warfare. This is relationship maintenance. This is intimidation. Same thing sometimes. Lily looked 1 second away from ascending spiritually. Please go with him, she whispered. I deserve entertainment after surviving chemistry class. I narrowed my eyes at both of them. You are terrible people. And yet, Jace said smoothly, you are still getting on the bike. The irritating part was that he sounded completely confident about it too. Like he already knew I would say yes. Maybe that should have annoyed me more than it did. Reluctantly, I took the helmet from his hand. Our fingers brushed for half a second, warm skin against cold metal rings, and something sharp flickered through my chest before I could stop it. Jace noticed. His eyes lifted to mine briefly, unreadable. Dangerous. Gentle. Both somehow. Relax, he murmured again, voice lower this time. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. My heart immediately forgot how to beat correctly. God, that should not have sounded so sincere. I climbed onto the motorcycle, trying very hard to preserve what little dignity I still possessed. Unfortunately, dignity became difficult when Jace casually reached back and tugged my hands around his waist like this was the most natural thing in the world. Hold on properly, he said. I am holding on properly. Whitmore. Fine. Heat crawled into my face as I tightened my grip slightly. Through the hoodie fabric, I could feel the steady warmth of him, solid and real beneath my hands. Around us, phones definitely came out again. Great. We were becoming content. As Jace started the engine, something buzzed in the pocket of his hoodie. He glanced down briefly at the screen before silencing it immediately. I only caught part of the message before it disappeared. Where are you? You owe us by Friday. My stomach tightened. Jace shoved the phone away too quickly, jaw sharpening for half a second before the expression vanished completely. Everything okay? I asked carefully. His gaze flicked toward me over one shoulder. For a moment, the confident bad boy mask slipped just enough for exhaustion to show underneath it. Then he smiled slightly like nothing happened at all. Yeah, he said quietly. Do not worry about it. Somehow that answer worried me even more. The next morning, somebody had edited my humiliation video into a romantic montage with dramatic music and clips of Jace touching my waist in the cafeteria. It had 300,000 views by first period. I stared at my phone in silent disbelief while Lily laughed so hard beside my locker, she nearly slid onto the floor. I hate this school, I muttered. No, you do not, she wheezed. You hate being famous. I was happier when people forgot I existed. Too late now. The comments are calling you and Jace the beauty and the breakdown. I closed my eyes briefly. Somewhere in the distance, a fire alarm started ringing. Honestly, it felt symbolic. The hallway buzzed louder than usual as students shoved past us carrying backpacks and coffee cups. Every few seconds, someone glanced in my direction. Some smiled. Some whispered. A few openly stared like I had become a reality show character instead of a human being. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You really think he actually likes you? Another message appeared before I could process the first one. Everybody knows Jace Mercer gets bored fast. My stomach dropped slightly. Lily noticed immediately. What happened? Nothing. Noah. I showed her the screen reluctantly. Her expression darkened. Okay, that person needs therapy and maybe several hobbies. I shoved the phone away before the third message could appear. The problem was not the random texts. The problem was that part of me believed them. Jace Mercer did not make sense. Nothing about him made sense. Not the way he watched rooms like he expected trouble before it happened. Not the strange exhaustion hidden behind his smirks. Not the fact that he kept looking at me like I was something fragile he was trying very hard not to break. Worst of all, I kept thinking about the message on his phone from last night. US by Friday. The words sat heavy in my chest all morning. By lunch, things somehow got worse. Tyler Brennan cornered me near the courtyard vending machines while his friends lingered nearby, pretending not to listen. So, he drawled, adjusting his varsity jacket. You and Mercer now? I immediately wanted to launch myself into traffic. That is usually how dating works, yes. Tyler laughed softly, shaking his head. Come on, Noah. You seriously expect people to believe that guy likes you? There it was. The humiliation. Public this time. Sharp and deliberate. His friends snickered under their breath. Heat crawled up my neck again, familiar and awful. Tyler stepped slightly closer. He is messing with you. Actually, a calm voice interrupted behind me. I am standing right here. The entire courtyard shifted. Conversations lowered instantly as Jace appeared beside me, wearing a black sweatshirt and dark jeans, hands shoved into his pockets like he had not just materialized out of thin air to ruin somebody's confidence. Tyler's expression tightened immediately. Interesting. I had never seen Tyler nervous before. Jace looked at him for one long second. Not angry. Not threatening. Somehow colder than both. You got something you want to say to my boyfriend? My pulse completely malfunctioned at the word boyfriend. Tyler scoffed weakly. Relax. We were joking. Funny. Jace's voice stayed smooth and even. He did not laugh. Silence stretched tight between them. Around us, phones definitely came out again. Of course they did. Westbrook students would record the apocalypse if given the opportunity. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Whatever, man. Jace tilted his head slightly. You embarrassed him in front of half the school last week. I think you have done enough. Something about the way he said it made my chest ache unexpectedly. Not dramatic. Not possessive. Just certain. Protective in this quiet, terrifying way that made it feel like he noticed every small thing people did. To me, and remembered all of it. Tyler muttered something under his breath before walking off with his friends trailing behind him awkwardly. The second they disappeared around the corner, the tension in my shoulders loosened slightly. Jace looked down at me immediately. You okay? I stared at him. Did you seriously just call me your boyfriend like that? One corner of his mouth lifted. You prefer fake boyfriend? My heart stumbled helplessly again. God, this was becoming a problem. You did not have to do that, I said quietly. Jace's expression softened for half a second so quickly I almost missed it. Yeah, he murmured. I kind of did. Then his phone buzzed again in his pocket. I watched his jaw tighten as he checked the screen briefly before locking it immediately. Another unknown number. Another unreadable expression crossing his face. But this time, before he looked away, I caught one line near the top of the message. Final warning. 3 days into fake dating Jace Mercer, I learned two very important things. First, the entire student body at Westbrook Academy was emotionally unstable and frighteningly invested in our relationship. Second, Jace was hiding something big enough to make even him nervous. The signs were everywhere once I started paying attention. The black SUV parked outside school every afternoon that never seemed to leave until Jace did. The unknown calls he ignored with tight shoulders and colder eyes. The expensive silver ring he always twisted when stressed, engraved with a symbol I did not recognize. Even his absences felt strange. He disappeared during lunch sometimes, returning 20 minutes later with bruised knuckles and exhaustion hidden beneath his calm expression. Every time I asked about it, he smiled just enough to dodge the question. You ask a lot of questions, Whitmore. You answer none of them. That is because I am mysterious. That is because you are suspicious. He laughed quietly at that. Actually laughed. The sound caught me so off guard I nearly forgot to breathe for half a second. It was unfair how different he looked when he relaxed. Softer somehow. Younger. Like the dangerous version of Jace Mercer everybody feared was partly armor instead of skin. Which honestly made this whole situation worse. Because I was starting to like him. Not fake-like. Real-like. Catastrophic, life-ruining, deeply inconvenient real-like. By Friday night, Westbrook's annual winter fundraiser had officially become my personal nightmare. The gymnasium glittered with string lights and silver decorations while parents in expensive coats mingled near silent auction tables pretending public school events were glamorous. Lily adjusted my tie for the third time while glaring at me. "You need to stop looking at Jace like that." I blinked. "Like what?" "Like a Victorian widow seeing her husband return from war. That is dramatic." "Noah." I sighed. "Fine. Maybe I am a little emotionally compromised." "A little." Before I could defend myself, the room shifted subtly around us. Conversations lowered. Heads turned toward the entrance. My pulse reacted before my brain did. Jace walked into the gym wearing a black suit that probably violated several local safety regulations simply by existing. The overhead lights caught against the silver rings on his fingers and the dark watch around his wrist. He looked older tonight somehow. Sharper. Controlled in a way that made the entire room feel smaller around him. Then I noticed the man walking beside him. Tall. Gray suit. Earpiece. Definitely not a parent. My stomach tightened instantly. Jace spotted me near the refreshment table, and his expression softened almost invisibly. There it was again. That look. Like I was the only thing in the room he trusted. He crossed the gym toward me while people openly stared. "You clean up nice," he murmured once he reached me. My heart immediately forgot how to function. "You look terrifying." "Thank you." That was not a compliment. Still accepting it. Lily made a gagging noise and escaped toward the dessert table. "Traitor." Jace's hand brushed lightly against my lower back as he guided me through the crowd. Casual. Familiar. Entirely too natural. "Who is the guy with the earpiece?" I asked quietly. For the first time all week, Jace hesitated. Just slightly. "Security. For you." Something like that. Before I could push further, Principal Arden suddenly appeared beside us looking unusually tense. "Mr. Mercer," he said carefully. "Not Jace. Mr. Mercer." My stomach dropped instantly. Jace's expression cooled into something unreadable. "Principal, your father arrived earlier than expected." "Father." The word landed strangely. Principal Arden glanced toward me awkwardly before lowering his voice. "The board members are waiting upstairs." Upstairs. Board members. Security. Expensive suit. Cold dread slowly crawled through my chest. Jace noticed immediately. "Noah, what board members?" I asked quietly. He did not answer fast enough. That was all it took. Because suddenly the pieces clicked together in the worst possible way. Mercer Holdings. The name printed across half the buildings downtown. The billionaire family everyone in the state knew. The private security company. The luxury hotels. The political donations. My mouth went dry. "You are not just some bad boy from school," I whispered. Jace's jaw tightened. "Silence." "Oh my God. You are heir to Mercer Holdings." Around us, the fundraiser buzzed with music and conversation, completely unaware that my fake boyfriend had just turned into something terrifyingly bigger than I ever imagined. Jace looked at me carefully, almost cautiously now. "Noah." I stepped back before he could touch me. Hurt hit first. Sharp and humiliating. Because suddenly every warning text made sense. Every secretive phone call. Every expensive detail he tried to hide. "You lied to me," I said softly. Something flickered across his face then. Not anger. Worse. Regret. I left the fundraiser before anyone could see how badly my hands were shaking. Cold rain hit my face the second I pushed through the front doors, sharp and relentless against the dark parking lot. Perfect. The universe apparently believed in dramatic timing now. I walked fast across the sidewalk, blinking hard against the sting behind my eyes. Billionaire heir. Security detail. Board members. God. I felt stupid. Completely, spectacularly stupid. Of course Jace Mercer was not normal. Nothing about him had ever been normal. Not the expensive watch he pretended was nothing. Not the way adults stepped carefully around him. Not the constant phone calls and tense silences, and people watching him like he carried storms inside his pockets. And somehow I had still convinced myself this was simple. Fake dating. Temporary chaos. A reckless boy with sharp eyes and colder secrets. Instead, I had accidentally fallen for someone living in an entirely different world than mine. Tires splashed softly against wet pavement behind me. I ignored them. The black SUV rolled slowly beside the curb anyway. The passenger window lowered. "Noah." I kept walking. "Noah, get in the car." "Absolutely not." Rain soaked through my suit jacket almost immediately. My sneakers squeaked against the sidewalk while downtown traffic blurred gold and red through the storm. Behind the tinted window, Jace looked exhausted. Not angry, just tired in a way that reached all the way into his eyes. You are going to get sick. Good. Whitmore, did you forget to mention the billion-dollar empire on purpose? I snapped, finally turning toward him. Or did that just never come up naturally in conversation? The driver stared very hard at the steering wheel. Smart man. Jace pushed one hand through his damp hair slowly. Can we not do this in the rain? You mean can we not do this where I can dramatically walk away? His mouth twitched faintly despite everything. You are still doing jokes. That is promising. I am upset with you. I know. The quiet honesty in his voice hit harder than defensiveness would have. Rainwater dripped from my sleeves while the city glowed blurry around us. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then Jace opened the SUV door and stepped out into the storm anyway. The security guard in the front seat looked horrified. Jace ignored him completely. His suit jacket darkened immediately beneath the rain, black fabric clinging slightly at the shoulders while water slid down the sharp line of his jaw. Somehow he still looked unfairly composed. You lied, I said again, softer this time. Jace stopped a few feet away from me under the pale streetlight. I did not know how to tell you. That is not better. I know. Rain hammered against the pavement between us. I crossed my arms tightly against the cold. Why fake date me at all? Was I some kind of distraction from your rich, lonely prince life? The second the words left my mouth, regret twisted through me. Because something in Jace's expression cracked quietly at the edges. Not dramatic. Just tired. Human. You think I asked you because I was bored? He asked softly. I looked away first. That alone felt dangerous. Jace exhaled slowly, rain dripping from his dark hair. My father controls everything, he said after a moment. What I wear? Who I talk to? What college I go to next year? Half the people around me work for him before they work for me. His voice stayed calm, but there was something hollow underneath it now. Something lonely enough to ache. Do you know how exhausting it is when everybody wants something from you all the time? I swallowed hard but said nothing. Then you showed up. His eyes lifted toward mine again. Steady, unfairly sincere. You looked at me like I was an actual person. My chest tightened painfully. Rainwater slid down my face while the city blurred around us into silver and gold light. Jace, I whispered helplessly. I did not fake this part. The words landed softly between us. No performance. No teasing smirk. Just truth. Real and terrifying and warm enough to ruin me completely. I stared at him while my heartbeat slowly unraveled inside my ribs. Because suddenly I understood the worst thing of all. Somewhere between cafeteria whispers and motorcycle rides and quiet protection in crowded hallways, this had stopped being fake for both of us. For exactly 48 hours after the rainstorm, I let myself believe things might actually be okay, which was honestly my first mistake. Jace started showing up outside my classes without pretending it was accidental. He stole fries off my lunch tray like he had earned visitation rights. Sometimes I caught him looking at me during quiet moments with this strange, soft expression that disappeared the second I noticed it. And every single time he touched me now, even casually, it felt different. Real. Dangerous in a completely different way. Worse, people at school noticed too. You know he looks at you like, you hung the moon, right? Lily whispered during calculus while pretending to take notes. Please focus on derivatives before I pass away. Noah. Lily. She sighed dramatically. You are doomed. Maybe I was. Because somewhere between fake dating and rooftop confessions in the rain, I had stopped protecting my heart entirely, which made what happened Monday morning hurt so much worse. I knew something was wrong the second I walked into school. The hallway noise felt sharp, electric. Students stood in clusters whispering while phones glowed in their hands. Some people stared openly at me before looking away too quickly. Others looked almost excited. My stomach dropped instantly. Why does everyone look like they are about to witness a public execution? I muttered. Lily checked her phone beside me. Then her face drained of color. Oh no. Cold dread slid down my spine. What? She turned the screen toward me slowly. My blood froze. A photo filled the display. Me and Jace in the cafeteria the first day. His hand on my waist. His head lowered close to mine. Underneath the image was a screenshot of what looked like a text conversation. Unknown contact. Fake date him for 2 weeks, and they will stop questioning you. Jace, fine. He is easy enough to manage. Another message appeared below it. Jace, he already likes me. This will not be difficult. My vision blurred slightly. That is fake, Lily said immediately. Noah, look at the timestamps. Something is wrong with them. But nobody else cared whether it was fake, because another post had already gone viral beneath it. Gold digger scholarship kid caught using Mercer heir for attention. There were hundreds of comments already. Knew he was too obsessed. Jace deserves better. Imagine embarrassing yourself this publicly twice. God. The hallway suddenly felt too bright. Too loud. My hands shook around my phone, while humiliation crawled slowly up my throat all over again. Noah. Lily touched my arm carefully. You know Jace would never say that. Did I? My chest tightened painfully, because part of me remembered the beginning too clearly. Fake dating. Temporary arrangement. Protection in exchange for convenience. Maybe somewhere along the line, I had simply become stupid enough to mistake safety for love. Someone laughed nearby. Another student whispered, "That is him." Heat burned behind my eyes instantly. Not here. I could not break down here again. Then the hallway shifted. Silence spread outward in waves. Jace Mercer walked through the crowd toward me wearing a dark hoodie and an expression so unreadable it made my pulse stumble. Every student nearby went completely still. He stopped directly in front of me. His eyes flicked briefly toward the phone in my shaking hands, then toward the viral posts surrounding us on every screen. Nobody breathed. I stared at him desperately, waiting for him to say something. Anything. Tell them it was fake. Tell them he cared. Tell them I was not stupid enough to fall for this alone. But Jace stayed silent. 1 second. 2. 3. The silence hurt more than shouting would have. Around us, whispers started again immediately. Oh my God. He is not denying it. I knew it. My throat tightened painfully. Jace's jaw flexed once like he was holding something back, but he still did not speak. The humiliation hit harder this time because now it mattered. Now he mattered. I stepped backward before I could stop myself. Noah, Lily whispered urgently beside me, but I could barely hear her over the rushing sound in my ears, because all I could think was that maybe everybody had been right from the beginning. Maybe boys like Jace Mercer did not fall in love with people like me. Maybe I had simply confused loneliness for affection again. Then finally, after the longest few seconds of my life, Jace lifted his eyes toward the crowd around us, and the look on his face was cold enough to silence the entire hallway. The terrifying thing about Jace Mercer was not that people feared him. It was how quiet he became when he was truly angry. The hallway stood completely still around us. Hundreds of students. Glowing phone screens. Whispered rumors hanging thick in the air like smoke. And right in the center of it, Jace looked at the crowd with an expression cold enough to stop every voice at once. Then his gaze shifted back to me. Softer immediately. Noah, he said quietly. My throat tightened painfully. Do not. He flinched. Almost invisibly. But I saw it. You stayed quiet, I whispered. For like 5 seconds. Because I was trying not to destroy somebody's future. The entire hallway went silent again. Jace reached slowly into the pocket of his hoodie and pulled out his phone. Calm. Controlled. Dangerous in the way thunderstorms are dangerous right before lightning hits. Since everybody suddenly cares about my personal life, he said evenly, let us be accurate. He tapped the screen once before turning it outward toward the crowd. A video began playing. Tyler Brennan appeared instantly on screen, standing near the football lockers with 2 other students beside him. My stomach dropped. You edited the timestamps wrong, one boy whispered nervously in the recording. Tyler rolled his eyes. Nobody is going to check. Mercer is too obsessed with Whitmore to think straight anyway. The hallway exploded into shocked whispers. Tyler's face drained of color somewhere behind the crowd. Jace did not even look at him. The video continued. Once Noah freaks out, Tyler said casually on screen, Mercer will dump him himself. Problem solved. A cold wave of realization crashed through the hallway all at once. Oh my God, Tyler faked everything. That is insane. My pulse stumbled hard against my ribs, while humiliation slowly twisted into disbelief. Jace lowered the phone carefully. Interesting strategy, he said calmly. Unfortunately for you, Westbrook Academy upgraded security cameras last semester. Tyler stepped forward suddenly, face pale. Jace, come on. It was not that serious. That finally made Jace look at him. Bad idea. The temperature in the hallway somehow dropped 10 degrees. You publicly humiliated him twice. Jace said quietly. It became serious a while ago. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Even Tyler looked smaller, now somehow beneath the weight of Jace's attention. Delete every post. Jace continued smoothly. Every screenshot. Every fake message. Or tomorrow morning my family's legal department gets involved. Legal department. A visible panic rippled across Tyler's face instantly. Around us, students started deleting reposts in real time. Phones disappeared into pockets almost comically fast. Jace finally turned back toward me then. And somehow that felt scarier than everything else. Because his expression changed completely the second he looked at me again. No ice. No intimidation. Just honesty stripped painfully bare in front of half the school. Noah, he said softly. The fake dating part was real at first. My chest tightened. The hallway stayed silent enough to hear lockers creak somewhere in the distance. I asked you because I wanted to protect you, he admitted. And because I liked being around you more than anybody else. His voice stayed calm, but I could hear the truth underneath it now. Warm and terrifying and completely sincere. Then somewhere between cafeteria fries and motorcycle rides, and you making fun of my terrible personality, he said quietly. I fell in love with you for real. The entire hallway collectively lost its mind. Somebody near the stairwell whispered, "Holy crap." Lily made a sound like she was ascending spiritually. But all I could focus on was Jace standing in front of me looking more vulnerable than I had ever seen him. Not Mercer Holdings' heir. Not untouchable bad boy. Just Jace. Just the lonely boy in the rain who had looked at me like I mattered before I even believed it myself. You scared me, I whispered finally. Regret flashed across his face immediately. I know. I thought you regretted this. Never. The answer came too fast to fake. Around us, cameras flashed quietly through the hallway while students stared at us like we had stepped out of some dramatic streaming series instead of homeroom. Jace took one careful step closer, slow enough to let me pull away if I wanted. I do not care what anybody here thinks, he said softly. I choose you anyway. God. My heart absolutely shattered. Because nobody had ever chosen me publicly before. Not like this. Not when it was difficult. Not when the whole world was watching. And suddenly I realized something terrifyingly simple. Jace Mercer had never made me feel humiliated. He only ever made me feel protected. The strangest part about surviving public humiliation twice in one semester was realizing it got easier when somebody stood beside you through it. By the end of the day, every fake screenshot had disappeared from social media. Tyler Brennan was suspended from the soccer team pending investigation, which sounded dramatically corporate for a 17-year-old with too much free time. And somehow, impossibly, Westbrook Academy had moved on to a new obsession. Me and Jace Mercer becoming real. You understand, Lily said while walking beside me after final period, that people are already making edits of your hallway confession. I groaned into my hands. I want peace. You kissed emotional repression in a school hallway. Peace was never an option. To be fair, she was not entirely wrong. After the confrontation, Jace had quietly taken my hand in front of everyone like it was the most natural thing in the world. No hesitation. No embarrassment. Just warm fingers threading carefully through mine while the entire hallway stared in complete disbelief. My heart had not recovered since. It definitely did not recover now as I spotted him leaning against his motorcycle near the front entrance waiting for me. Waiting for me openly. The late afternoon sun painted gold across the parking lot while students passed around us pretending not to stare. Jace looked up the second I stepped outside, expression softening immediately in that unfair way only reserved for me now. God, I was never surviving this relationship with dignity intact. Your fans are intense, Lily whispered dramatically before escaping toward her car. Coward. Jace straightened slightly as I approached. You okay? The fact that he asked me that every single day now felt dangerously intimate. I think half the school wants us to get married. That sounds expensive. I laughed despite myself. The tension from the morning finally loosened completely inside my chest. For a moment we just stood there beneath the fading sunlight while students swirled around us in noisy, chaotic motion. Then Jace reached into the pocket of his jacket slowly. I have something for you. Immediate suspicion filled my soul. That sentence has never ended well in human history. One corner of his mouth lifted. He pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to me carefully. I blinked down at it. Fake relationship agreement. My eyes widened instantly. Oh my God, read the updated version. Fighting a smile already, I unfolded the paper. The original rules were still there, written in sharp black ink. Hold hands in public. Attend school events together. Ignore gossip. But every line had been crossed out messily. Underneath, new words were written instead. Be honest. Stay. Let me take care of you sometimes. My throat tightened unexpectedly as I reached the final line. No more pretending. I looked up slowly. Jace watched me carefully, nervous in a way I had never seen before. That is incredibly cheesy, I whispered. I panicked while writing it. You are heir to $1 billion company, and this is the best legal document you could produce. Unfortunately, yes. I laughed softly then, helpless and warm and completely gone for him at this point. The sunset painted amber light across his face while wine stirred through his dark hair. For the first time since all of this started, he looked peaceful, not guarded, not controlled by expectations or security details or the impossible weight of the Mercer name. Just happy. Because of me. The realization hit quietly but completely. So, Jace said carefully, what happens now? I folded the paper slowly before stepping closer to him. Around us, students pretended not to stare while definitely staring. Somebody across the parking lot literally whispered, "This is insane," loud enough for me to hear. But somehow I did not care anymore. Jace's hand brushed mine lightly, hesitant for once, like he was giving me the choice. I took his hand first. Warm skin, silver rings, steady heartbeat beneath all the sharp edges. Now, I said softly, we try something real. Relief flickered across his face so quickly it almost hurt to see. Then he smiled at me properly. Not the dangerous smirk. Not the polished Mercer expression. Just Jace. Honest and bright and a little disbelieving. The golden evening light wrapped around us while the world kept moving loudly in the background, but somehow, everything felt quiet anyway. And as Jace squeezed my hand gently before guiding me toward his motorcycle, I realized something terrifyingly simple. The worst moment of my life had led me straight to the boy who would never let me face another one alone.